everybody? Welcome in. Today we have inside the show, we have the one, the only, never to be mistaken, the one and only Jordan Ghastly, live inside the toy house. Mr. Jordan, how are you doing today, man?
I'm all right, my man. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing good except for the little bit I told you about earlier, but we won't bore the people with that, you know?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, no, I'm good, man. It was a day at work. Luckily, it was a kind of a low key day at work. I didn't have to do too much moving around, so I was able to just kind of like sit and be stationary for the most part of it. So not the worst day at work, but
Good deal. Well, welcome in. Thank you for coming. But real quick, just take a minute and let the people know if they don't know you, who you are, and what you do, whoop de woo, whatever.
Oh man, what do I do? Well, my name is Jordan Ghastly. Like a lot of our other friends that we've made through the community on social media, specifically TikTok, but also here on YouTube. I'm a toy collector. I'm an action figure collector, toy hunter. I I actually run a toy hunt YouTube channel. Just it's Jordan Ghastly, so cheap plug for my channel. If you just search any social medias, I'm Jordan Ghastly across the board. But yeah, I'm just a dude that loves action figures and wants to, celebrate action figures and be part of the community. And if I can help a fellow collector out here and there, or help another fan out here or there find something, I'm always happy to help.
And speaking of that, you're helping me out. There's something on the way. We'll get to more of that when we talk about Toylanta. But
Yeah.
tell us a little bit. I want to, since we're on YouTube, I want to talk a little bit more about your channel and how you got started. I mean, did you
Okay.
just one day say you was going to, or somebody talked you into it? Give me the ins and outs, man.
So it's actually a funny story. I the channel actually started out having nothing to do with toys, and it actually didn't even start out as a channel. It started out as a blog. Back whenever I was, kind of finishing up college, I wasn't, whenever I was in college, for those that don't know, my background is in history. I'm a history educator. Um, when you're going to college for history, like you're researching and you're writing papers left and right. And, whenever I left college, I felt like I wasn't getting that kind of, stimulation, that academic stimulation, because I was basically trying to keep myself accountable. So I started a blog just to kind of like write and flex my creative my creative writing and whatnot, and or my research and whatnot. And then about a year after I graduated college, I had been a really big fan of theme park vloggers down in the Orlando area. And I just saw a whole bunch of these really cool people, some of which that I now get to call friends, just make this really cool, theme park content around Universal Studios, Walt Disney World, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, well, I have a phone. I might not live next to a theme park, but I surely live close to interesting things, and so I can force myself to get off the couch and go do something fun. And then at the same time, I'm kind of flexing my creative muscles where I can go and film, and I can learn how to edit video and then put it up on the internet. And I was doing that probably for about 3 years between like 2017 and 2020. And then along comes the first half of 2020, when the parallelogram happened. And I I had to kind of, I couldn't go and do things because everything was closed. So I essentially just started to film stuff here around my house. And as the stores slowly started to open back up, I thought, well, I'm looking for some action figures because I was collecting again around that time. I just wasn't actively filming what I was collecting,
Right.
honestly, because I thought no one cared. I'm like, at the time, a 30 something year old dude. Like, no one wants to see a grown up buy toys. Like,
Yeah,
whatever.
we do.
well, well, it's funny you say that because it turns out a lot of people do. So, um, my buddy Richard and I, who he's been my buddy since college. Um, we went out one day and we were going on a toy hunt, and I was like, "Hey, you know what? I'll film us doing a toy hunt and see if that gets any traction." And surprisingly, it was it was one of my better viewed videos. And I was like, I didn't realize. Now, keep in mind, I'm very small time. At the time, I was only averaging like maybe 20 views a video. But whenever I started to do the toy hunts, I was getting like 100 or 200 or 300. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Like people, and it just kind of stuck. Well, I'm going out and doing this anyway. I have a camera with me anyway. I might as well just film it while I'm doing it, and it just kind of morphed into a toy hunt slash convention toy collecting channel. And it's kind of been that way since about, the last half of 2020, first part of 2021.
Okay, real quick, Dub, welcome in. Thank you for coming in. And Lexi, I don't know who this is, but hello from Indonesia. Thank you for stopping in.
Hey, all right.
Uh, Appreciate everybody. Yeah, man. I just want y'all to get to know more about Jordan, and I'm getting to know more about him too. I know a lot. I know a little, but we're gonna
Mhm.
get a little bit out of a lot today.
Let's go
So
for it.
you started doing the hunts and stuff, but now you do more like of the cons and stuff. You
Uh,
know,
I would, yeah. I still like to do the toy hunts. My issue with actively doing the toy hunts is I feel like it gets really stale. If you go to one target and you see all the stuff that target has, and you go to another target down the road, 9 times out of 10 they're probably going to have the same stuff.
now if you
So
come to mine, they ain't gonna have nothing you just saw.
that's weird. I didn't know the toy aisle started to sell tumbleweeds. But
Man, it's bare. I went there today. Nothing.
right.
Nothing.
So there I so as I'm doing the toy hunts, I try to, I at least want to show something interesting. And if I'm going to three targets and I'm seeing the same stuff, like I don't think I don't think somebody at home would like to watch 10 minutes of me going to a target going, "Oh, it's the same stuff. Oh, look, it's the same stuff. Oh, look, it's the same stuff we saw at the other two targets."
I don't know. We
So,
watched '80s kid go to 30 Rosses and we still like it.
yeah,
So
right. So maybe he's on to something. Maybe I need to hit up 80s kid for some tips. But there's often times that I will start filming something, and we'll start at we meet at one target, and then we kind of have our own loop that we do up here in North Georgia. And if by the second target I don't see anything cool or interesting, I just scrub all the footage, and I'm just like, I'm not going to release a video, because if I don't see something interesting within two targets, there's a very good chance I won't see something interesting within four or five targets. So,
right,
but I do try to differentiate the toy hunt stuff up with, popping into some of the toy swaps that we have every other month in my area, or some of the, I'm very fortunate that I live so close to Atlanta that there's a lot of toy related events going on between, some of the conventions that are held in Atlanta, but also some of the outlying specialty toy shops that we do have. And we have a toy swap that happens the first Saturday of every other month that we get to go to. So I'm very fortunate that I live in an area where I can go to these places and also get a lot of toy related content. And I try to differentiate it. I still love doing the toy hunts, but I always feel bad whenever I can't find anything interesting or anything new on the pegs. So I hope that at least the haul portion of all those videos like sets it apart a little bit, so at least they get to, people who are watching and who watch the whole video at least get to see some of the stuff that they might not have seen at the target.
right. And I understand. And I do some little toy hunts, but I don't really do that much. Like '80s kid, TNT, some of them. But every now and then I put some out. But yeah, there's a lot of times I won't put it out either, or I won't. Sometimes I go in there and I just see what's there. I won't even record. I'm like,
Yeah,
it's
me
not even
neither.
worth recording. There's nothing here.
As a matter of fact, there's a lot of times where whenever my buddy Richard and I meet up, we'll walk into Target and I have zero plans on filming. But if we walk into the Target and we see new stuff, I'll take the phone out and I'll film, and I'll get 2-3 minutes worth of footage at that Target alone. And then whenever we go back to our car to move on to the next store, that's when I'll record an intro to the video, and then by the
Gotcha.
magic of movie editing, I just plop it in front of.
Yeah, just put it in front.
So I kind of use it as a litmus to if I'm gonna film the rest of the day or not. So
Gotcha. Yeah, and that toy swap thing, man, it sounds awesome. We don't really have nothing like that around here. I've actually been looking and talking to people and trying to get something set up. Not necessarily a con, not necessarily a swap, but maybe something in the middle. So
hmm
we have down here for us collectors around here to have something else to be able to go and do, you
hmm
know. Because there's a lot of stuff you want, and I mean, yeah, you can get what you want on eBay, but I don't really mess with. I've actually just finally bought something else on eBay here recently. I normally haven't messed with it in a couple years, but it just saves the hassle, man. When you can go and find somebody wants something you don't want no more, and you can switch it for something you do want. You know what I
hmm
mean?
hmm
Hey, follow. Oh, I thought that was follow the dot. 80s kid, my bad. And real quick, and I don't mean to offend either one of you by no way, because I love both of you. But since I've had you on the YouTube screen, I had 80s kid and you. There's a little bit of similarity in the facial. I've never
yeah,
noticed that before until now.
yeah. I feel bad for 80s really. I just because so, but you know what? He's a good looking cat, so I take it as a compliment.
He's a good dude, man. He's
Right.
a good dude.
Right.
But yeah, I
Well,
was
you
like,
also have never seen us in the same place, so who knows if we
well,
are the same
maybe the
person?
same person.
We could be.
So anyway, tell them. We talked about the little bit on the YouTube. I know you do TikTok as well. Do you like the TikTok better or the YouTube better, or what's your preferred site to go to?
It's I like them both for two different reasons. Like I love YouTube for the long form, and I love TikTok for the short form. I feel like on TikTok I can probably be a little bit quirkier and funnier. Like, the attention span of a TikTok is like what, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Like
Two
I feel like,
seconds.
yeah. So I feel like if I have a funny idea or a joke that I could film, especially if I do something with action figures. Like I'm not cool enough to do stop motion or anything like that, but I feel like if I ever have a funny idea, I can crank it out on TikTok a lot easier and faster than I could on YouTube. So I like them both equally for two different reasons.
Gotcha. So what I want to talk about is I know you've been to Toylanta.
Yeah.
Uh, so I know some people may have seen the videos. I hope they did. I actually did watch all three.
No, nice.
Good
Thank you.
stuff. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Uh, I will actually go ahead and bring out the thing I'm most interested to talk about, and I'm sure you probably know what that is.
What you got?
The dragon, man.
Oh
We
man,
got to talk about the dragon, man.
it was glorious. It was so cool. It was, and when I tell you that it was massive, like I can't do it if I even just held my hands up and showed you how large, like I still can't do it justice. It's and I got it. If for anybody watching, again, cheap plug, go check out my videos from Toylanta. But the Four Horsemen Studios, if you're familiar with them, they do the Mythic Legions, they do the Cosmic Legions, as well as the Figure Obscura line. They announced a Kickstarter, which has closed about a week ago, to do a full scale dragon, and it's something like, without the add-ons and the tail extended, it's something like 40 inches wide or 40 inches long and 22 inches tall. It's insane, and the level of detail that has been sculpted into each of the dragon's scales, and the ears and the wings and the claws, it's unreal. I would almost argue that that is not a toy, that is a work of art. Like, it is an articulated work of art. And I won't lie, like, I'm not really highballing to get a dragon because it was pricey. The base model was like
Yeah,
$550.
yeah.
And that didn't include tax and shipping, which probably bumped it up closer to about $700. Um, I thought about doing it. I had it in my cart, and I was looking at all of the firm pay over time options, and I was like, I could get it for $65 a month. But I ultimately said, I told myself, as much as I want it, that one, I don't have the space, and
Yeah.
two, I just can't buy everything. So I had to rein myself back in and told myself to stay in my lane. But when I tell you, beef, that dragon, it was so good, so good.
It looks amazing, man. And that's why I wanted to talk to you so much about it because, man, you're right there seeing it in the case, so you could see more than I can just from a video, you know.
Right.
And I did not get it either. I didn't think about it as much as you did. I did not put it in the cart, but I sat there and contemplated. But space was my reason for not getting it. I'm like, I've got too much big crap that I don't know what I'm gonna do with already. So
Hmm.
I've got to not be able to get everything, even though I want everything. So I backed out. But then when I saw it again, when you were there live looking at it, I was like, that thing is awesome.
Yeah, and they also had, 'cause, it came with a figure, and then each figure had stretch goals. So, if it sold X amount, it was officially backed. If it sold X amount
Right.
more, the figure came with all these extra accessories. But what I thought was really cool was that they had two different add-on kits for the dragon as well. And one was a set of wings it was called the Epic Wing set. So they were all just completely splayed out. And then
Wow.
I think it came with a different head sculpt for the dragon, and then that also came with a figure. And then there was the fire effect set, so you can have like a big, like, translucent plastic
Yeah.
flame. And then that actually had probably the thing I was the most interested in packed with, and that was like a translucent knight. And it was translucent yellow, so it was looked like he was on fire.
Yeah. I was
And I was
just
like,
finna bring that up. When I saw that, I was like, that's the piece I want. That is
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, that is. And not for nothing, I each of those add-on kits were pricey in and of themselves. They were 150 each.
Whew.
But because it's four horsemen and it's a limited like, there's no way that those figures won't sell for more than that on the aftermarket, because there's so many people are going to miss out, and so many people probably don't even want the figure. They just want like the flame effects or the wing effects. So all these figures that are going to get packed with them are probably going to hit eBay at some point, unless aren't some pre-existing deals that were in the works from somebody backing it, right? But
Right.
um I that fire knight, that flame knight, was the one that I was looking at, and I'm like, I could buy this, and I could probably sell the flame effects for $75 and at least make 50% of my money back.
Man, it looked good. The whole display thing, the way they had set up, it just looked awesome.
It's Yeah, again, it was so cool. And I was tempted to, poke my hand around and, like, give it a little pet on the head, but I was very respectful and I didn't. So, but yeah, dude, it's going to be a fantastic piece. And I think another reason why I decided not to back it is, in the lore of Mythic Legions, there's going to be five dragons total. So
Oh
there's going to
Lord.
Yeah, right? So theoretically there's going to be four more,
Yeah.
because I just don't think that they're going to make this one sculpt and then not use it ever again. Like, it just seems like that's like, you
It'd
got to
just
get
be a
more.
waste. Yeah, you're not gonna
Right.
do that. Yeah.
And you can sculpt a different head and pop it on the old dragon body, because they're all supposed to be similar in the sense of them just being dragons. But different paint jobs, you got five different dragons right there. So
Yeah, you got to get the most out of your molds, especially when you're spending that much on something. Yeah, it's not just going to be a one and done. I did hear the same thing, maybe not as much as you, but I did hear a few rumors about three or four more coming
Hmm.
out later on, maybe different colors and schemes or whatever. But so you never know. Maybe I'm in the right spot and got enough space and jump on down the road one day. But I
Yeah.
don't think so. I think it's something that I'll pass on, even though it is amazing looking. Like you said, we can't collect everything as bad as we want to.
I have to
Either we don't have the money or the space.
yeah,
Or sometimes both.
sometimes both. Um, my buddy Matt ended up backing one of them, or backing the dragon, and I'm just gonna have to live vicariously through him. Like I'll just go over and play with his whenever he gets in. So
Yeah, that's like a friend of mine when he got that Roberson, ordered it. I was like, well, you go ahead, cause.
mhm.
But yeah, once he gets it in, he's supposed to bring it and let me do a review on it and everything. So
Hey, all right.
you know, but let's talk a few more things about the con, and then I'd like to hear some stuff. One thing I wanted to talk about, I noticed, and I have met these people too: Savage Crucible,
Hmm.
Animal Kingdom, Planet Kingdom. I
Spiro,
can't.
yeah, Animal Warriors of the Kingdom.
Yes, and sometimes I throw their names off. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
guys.
no, you're good.
But yeah, I've met both these people, both these companies. I think their figures are great, and I think it Savage. One of them you can interchange the parts.
I think you can do that with both.
Is it with
Um,
both? See,
I
it's
think
been
you
a
can do it
while. It's
with
been about
both.
2 years since I
Yeah.
talked with them, so I really don't remember.
I've spoken with the Savage Crucible guys, once or twice, and I did pick up a figure. This would have been last year at Joe Fest, whenever the first wave finally came out. I picked up a figure just to, I always like to support the indie companies.
Right.
Because sometimes they have some really cool stuff going on, and I don't mind, taking a $40 risk at buying a figure here and there. Um, and I thought they made a decent figure. I liked it a lot. I didn't love it, but all the stuff that I was seeing that I was really interested in isn't coming out until wave 3. So
Okay.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, as much as I enjoyed the, excuse me, oh my god, I had the one figure. I think I'm really going to like the stuff in season 3 a bit more, so I'm kind of biding my time for that.
Gotcha.
But the guy, whenever it was the last day, I went to the Savage Crucible table, and they had all their Wave 3 stuff on display, and I'm getting some shots. I'm looking at it, and one of the dudes who was working behind the counter, I guess, had his 8 or 9 year old son with him, and he sent his 8 or 9 year old son up to me to give me the hard sell on what there was. They were like, "Hey, we have these figures over here. This is You can pre-order this figure right here." And like I went along with it. Like I was chatting with him, and he was like, "Yeah." And then like every time I would ask a question, he would that he didn't know the answer to, he would look at his dad, and his dad would go. And so he would turn back to me and say the answer. I'm like, okay, cool, thanks, good to know. So
Now
it
that's
was
one of two things. Either one, he's training him young, or he's trying to pray by using the kid to draw his head.
Well, I think the Venn diagram on that's probably a circle. So it's, but they were fun to talk to. I will say I am a little bit biased because I've become pretty good friends with the crew over at Spiro Toys that do Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. Um, Jason and Derek both live in a town outside of Lafayette, Louisiana, and I have family from Lafayette. So I'm originally from South Louisiana, and so every time we get together, like I usually buy a figure or two from them, but then we just talk about crawfish for an hour. So,
And you're from Louisiana, but I sound like I'm from Louisiana.
right,
What's
buddy,
going on here?
my accent has gone the way of the dodo bird. I've been in Georgia since '98, and but it's funny though because every time I go back, it starts to slip in just a little bit.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
Um,
and I've never been there except for a couple little visits. So
right.
I don't know. But anyway, back to these two companies. I don't know if you know this because we might not have met then yet. But when I first started this channel, they were two of the first people in toy companies that I met and did videos and stuff on.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, when I saw them, I was like, man, it's been a minute. That was like when I first started out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I
So, but
ended
they
up
were
buying
real cool
a.
people, man. They got some good stuff over there.
They do, and I have a handful of their figures. I don't have any of the apes. I like the cats. So like all the cheetahs, the lions, and the tigers, etc. So I have a lot of those, and they have some really cool stuff coming up. They're like kind of branching out. So a lot of upcoming waves. There'll be like lizards and chameleons coming out. So I'm really excited for those as well.
Right on. So, what I need to ask, and I want to know the difference because Toylanta was different this year
Hmm.
with I'm forgetting the name. Who was it with them?
It was a PowerCon.
PowerCon. So what was the big difference? Was it just that much bigger? Was there some other stuff that's not usually there? Fill me in.
Uh, a little bit of both. So this year, Toylanta was under new ownership, and it was also the 25th anniversary. So I think part of it was the new owner wanted to go big, but also, uh, PowerCon hasn't been able to have a physical convention the last 2 years because I think they've had some complications with the venue that they usually uh, try to lock down. And I think, instead of having a second year without the PowerCon name out there, or at least some kind of event, the two owners kind of linked up and said, "All right, well, how about we do this? How about we kind of have like a combo thing where we can still have the PowerCon name out there and let people know that PowerCon is still a thing, but also combine it with the 25th anniversary of Toylanta."
Okay.
And I don't know specifics, so take this with a grain of salt. But I do know that there were people downstairs in the main vendor floor that were, I guess, booked by, or they were marketed to being there for Toylanta, whereas there were other people that were marketed for being there for the power up version or the PowerCon version. So like upstairs, I don't know if you're familiar with Robo from Robo Don't Know,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Pixel Dan, he was up there as well. There was a number of cosplayers, Simple Tricks and Nonsense, who do a lot of Motu inspired and Motu cosplay. They were up there. So I think each section might have had their own programming, and they just kind of came together and had it in one venue.
Okay.
And the venue, the arena that it was in was large. The convention center was huge. There was probably like four other things going on top of Toylanta. um and we had there was the big vendor floor downstairs, and there was five smaller rooms upstairs. I say small, let's put that in air quotes. Like, not once did I ever feel like I was butts to butts with somebody. Like, there was ample room to move around. Everyone was being respectful. So it was a large space, both upstairs and downstairs.
Cool.
So.
Another thing I want to tell you real quick because like I said, I did watch the videos. One thing I really took from the videos and I enjoyed it. I don't know if you had the special pass to get in early, but it wasn't crowded like you were saying. It was quiet. I could hear everything you were doing, who you were
Mhm.
talking to. Sometimes I record from places down there and it's just you can't hardly hear because there's so many people. Blah, 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 blah. So
Right.
man, good stuff, man. It was really, you know, clear and could see everything, and there wasn't a lot of people jumping in the way of the camera. So
Yeah.
really good stuff, man.
I'm very fortunate again. This is my third year I've been to Toylanta with a press pass. So they invited me out, and the trade off is, I make videos of the show just to help them promote the show, and this is, just within the last handful of years has become my favorite show of the year to go to. Um,
Gotcha.
and I can't see any other way that this con is only going to go up. The show is only going to get better and better with each year. So I'm kind of fortunate again to have gone for press, but also be kind of there on the ground floor.
Cool. So, besides the dragon, take us through and tell us a couple things that were cool. I mean, was there any stars there that you met? Was there any, uh, comic book artists or writers that you got, or
Uh,
or was there just a certain booth there that really attracted you to it because of what it had, or anything like that?
there were a handful of I guess celebrities. Sergeant Slaughter was there actually.
Nice.
And I keep saying every time I go to a convention and he's there, I'm like, this is going to be the time. I'm going to go get my picture, and then I never do it. So next year is, or the next time I see him, which will probably be Joe Lanta in September. I'm saying it right here live, so everybody has to hold me accountable. I'm going to go get my photo with Sergeant Slaughter. But yeah, I think that one of the actors who played April in one of the live action Ninja Turtle movies, she was there. The dude who played Kino in the Ninja Turtle films, he was there. I think one of the Red Power Rangers was there. And there were a couple of YouTubers there. Like I said, Robo Don't Know was there, Pixel Dan was there, and Shartimus Prime was there. And
Oh,
he was,
okay.
yeah. And I didn't get any footage of Shartimus Prime, but I did chat with him for a while. He's a drummer, and he's a punk rock guy and a musician, and I used to be in bands back in high school and college, so we kind of just talked about punk rock and music, and every once in a while we talk about action figures. But honestly, aside from the handful of indie companies, a lot of it, I don't want to say a lot of it was the same stuff, but there are booths that have, you know, new merchandise that you can probably find on, Target or Walmart pegs. They're probably like official toy vendors. I'm not saying that they went and bought, all the stock up to resell at a con, but or at least the way that they were presented was that they themselves were, a toy vendors that do shows. Um, and every once in a while, you would see booths that were just kind of like a hodgepodge of just vintage and new. And so that's hit or miss. Those are the kind of booths that you kind of have to get on your knees and start crate digging through stuff.
Right.
I saw there was one booth that was this hodgepodge of vintage stuff, and they had carded turtles, carded GoBots, and carded Ghostbusters, but not the real Ghostbusters. The other Ghostbusters that was much weirder with the giant ape.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was the filmation Ghostbusters, I should say, but it
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So one of the things that stood out to me was there was an indie toy company there, and I had followed them on Instagram, and I don't know how I missed that they were going to be at the show, but they're a toy company called From the Realm, and they had a couple of their prototypes for these vampire figures, and one of which looks, it's very Victorian, aristocratic, like Vampire Lestat, Interview with Vampire kind of looking. But then there's another one that's a little bit more Nosferatu looking, and that's the one that I really liked. And they had a few prototypes, and they looked really cool. So that was a
Now
big
I got a
standout booth for
question
me.
because I don't remember a lot. I'm
Yeah,
old. A hamster wheel freezes up sometimes.
it's fair.
But I believe it was in your video, and this may be the ones you're talking about.
Hmm.
But there was a company that had a toy line that had like the blockbuster videos cases behind it.
I know which one you're. That's Grindhouse. So that
Grindhouse.
was
Man,
Grindhouse.
those
Yeah.
looked awesome. I mean, I thought the cases behind it looked better than the figures,
Yep.
but they still looked good. But man, I was like, those are pretty cool. I'd never
Those.
seen those before.
Yeah,
So
those do. I have seen them before at Joe Fest, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him at Joe Fest, but they did have some cool stuff. They're currently doing 1/18th scale, so like the 3 3/4 inch
Yeah.
figures. And I asked if they were,
Yeah,
plans
because
to
the
do.
O-ring style. I remember him saying
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, O-ring style with modern articulation,
Yeah.
which I thought was really cool. And even in the video, whenever I was talking to him, he said, it's O-ring style with modern articulation, and then he kind of says, which some would say is blasphemous. I'm like, I don't know, like just because I think that's actually kind of cool because I don't know of any other company that's doing modern articulation plus the O-ring.
Yeah, I remember hearing him say that.
So I think that that's a cool move. I think that that's something that's interesting that
No,
kind of
I
sets
think
it
it's
apart.
good. I mean,
So
it's just so hard, and it's going to be harder now. And I don't want to get into that, but for these upstart companies, we won't even mention it because that's been the whole talk for like a month now. I'm kind of pretty much over and done with all that. But man, it's just I really, I mean, I've already seen one or two little companies that already disband because of it. So,
hmm
but I wish them all the best of luck, and it's always good to see people trying to do what they love and get their stuff out there. You know what I
right,
mean?
right. But yeah, there was some really cool stuff. I think another one of the booths that stood out to me is I'm a Transformers guy wearing the shirt.
Of course.
There was this one booth that was about 95% vintage Transformers, and this dude had not one, not two, not three, not four, but five boxed Fortress Maximus figures, which is insane. And I asked him, I was like, what are you asking for these Fortress Maximus figures? And he was like, oh, 1,800 each.
Ooh,
Yeah, and he had five of them.
wow.
Yeah,
Well, you could probably get that for about a quarter of that if you go to TNT Neon Prime.
right.
Now, it might take you 3 months to get it built, but it might take you as long to get a pre-order from
Hey,
somebody. But
but it's larger and it's hey, I'll take that all day.
hey, it
TNT, you
looks
making extras
amazing,
for
man.
friends? TNT, you watching? You making extras for
I'm,
friends?
I'm I'm hoping we can get him on the show next week and we can show it on here.
Because
But
I sent him one of those figures too. So
oh yeah, yeah, me and him talked the other night.
yeah,
Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, and when I was talking to him, not to get off on too many subjects, but he was like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna use him as my older version of Roadblock." I was like, "To me, he looks more like Heavy Duty, even though we got a Heavy Duty figure coming."
right, right.
But
See,
yeah,
because I thought I thought he looked like Roadblock too. So that was, and maybe that's just because I had the classified figure whenever that Roadblock had the big beard.
oh, okay,
So maybe
yeah,
that's
and
why
that
I put two together.
classified version of Roadblock reminds me of Rampage Jackson.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know if anybody remembers him, but anyway, we get off topic, but that's all right. It's about having fun, man. As long as we're enjoying it, who cares?
right, man.
So now's the part where, unless you got anything else to add, I want to see if you can show us what you picked up from
Oh man,
Toyland.
I mean I've sat. You should have seen the state of my work desk with trying to make the videos. Yeah, I've got some stuff. All right. So you were talking about Animal Warriors: The Kingdom. So I picked up, like I said, I like the cat characters. I picked up
Nice.
this dude. His name is Ken. And something that I was talking about with Derek and Jason over at Spiro is, a year ago this was a $35 figure.
Hmm.
Now they're charging $25. And I asked why the price cut, and he said, well, while they're able to, they really wanted to be competitive with Hasbro. So
Mm.
for an indie company to sell their stuff, their 6 inch figures for the same price that Hasbro's selling their 6 inch figures for, that's a pretty damn good deal. And I couldn't
Yeah.
say no. I mean, I was prepared to pay $35 for this. And I don't know if you've handled any of these,
Yes, I have.
but
Yeah.
dude, these guys are sturdy. Like this is
They're
solid.
great.
They're durable
The
and
only reason I didn't get them is it's one of those things. There's two reasons. One, is you can't really go down too many more rabbit holes.
right.
And another thing is, even though the figures look great, like the figure you got from me, that's a one-off occasion for me doing something like that because I normally don't get figures that I don't have an attachment to.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I like the Valor verse and stuff like that, but I don't know any of the characters. A
Right.
GI Joe, I know a Gung Ho, I know a Roadblock, I know Hawkeye, I know
Yeah.
Batman. I don't know when you just give me a hairy bipedal creature and you call it Sasquatch's cousin. I don't know.
I Let me know what you think when you get that figure in hand, because if you like just the build of that figure, there's a very good chance you might go down that Legion's hole, man. Like it's they're awesome, but I digress. I got this dude too from Animal
Oh,
Warriors of the
nice.
Kingdom, but check this out. He has an articulated jaw.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like
Eh,
the other one. I think I may like that one better. He's more mean looking right there,
Yeah,
boy.
so I think this character's name is Mongrel, and he's a hyena. So so I got him. I picked up. I got the Cyclops from this Marvel Legends wave that just
That
came out
I'm still
recently.
waiting on to get here. I haven't
Dude,
got any of that wave in yet.
oh man, this is probably my favorite Cyclops figure that's been released.
See, I
Let's
like the
see.
astonishing one they put out not too long ago.
I like that one. This one, I guess maybe I'm just kind of in the mood for, you know, 80s X Factor or 80s X-Men.
Yeah.
So this definitely ticks those boxes. But the big seller for me, I don't have the accessory on me, but the blast effect that this comes with was a really big seller for me. Had it not come with that blast effect, I probably would have passed on this
Now
figure.
here's the thing on the blast effect. I'm pretty sure it's the same one we've got on the other ones. But my thing is, why can't they give us optionals? Give us more than one. Not every time was he doing an optic blast. Why can't we get one little string or
Yeah,
we either get the little puff of stuff coming out here or we get the big optic blast. There's nothing
nothing
in
in
the
between,
middle,
right?
you know? But
I think the big seller for me was that new piece that attaches to the end of it, so it looks like it's actually like hitting something. So I picked those up. I did pick up the. I only have two of them right here, but I picked up the skeleton 4 pack from Mythic Legions.
now that is awesome. I think that is really good. And I'm not saying I don't like these figures, but I don't really do the whole Mystic Legion stuff because, like I said, I don't want to go down that hole either. But I
Right.
think those are awesome because you could use them with anything. You could put them with Motu. You could put them with a zombie versus vampire setup
I
or
don't.
just
You probably
anything.
you can't see it, but right here, I actually have my Skeletor with a throne, and I have all of my skeletons
Yeah, see,
hanging out
exactly.
over here. So that's what I used mine for.
There's
But
just so much you can do with them.
But I love these skeleton figures. Yeah, like I bought the 4 pack, but I already had 5 other skeletons. It's the same mold, different paint job, but these guys are just so expressive. Like the once you play around with them, their jaws are hinged. You know, they come with a whole bunch of hand and feet swap options and a bunch of just fun accessories. I initially bought them because they looked like the skeleton warriors from Jason and the Argonauts, the Harryhausen film. So
Gotcha.
I ended up getting that, and then something that was a little bit of an impulse purchase. I'm not really a big Super Seven guy. I just I think that on a personal thing, I just think they're about $20 overpriced for what you get.
Agreed.
So
That's why I
30.
only buy them on clearance.
Yeah, yeah. However, I did talk myself into buying this, and I'm glad I did. So I did pay full $55, but I picked up the Martian from Mars Attacks,
That's cool.
and he comes with a bunch of other accessories as well. I have the box over here somewhere, but I was originally going to get the one from DNA Designs, but that sucker has been on pre-order for almost 2 years now, and
Wow.
after like there's a big fiasco with DNA Designs and the Earthworm Jim figures that they had made, and everything just got indefinitely pushed back. So I canceled my pre-order when I saw this, and I grabbed that one. Um, I ended up picking up some other thing. Like I got the Spider Punk Figure Arts figure. I don't really do
Okay.
figure arts a lot, but I love Spider Punk. Um, there were the Saturday night of Toylanta, there were room sales. So it was just me and my friends. And we were just going up and down the hallways of the hotel, and people who were having room sales just had their doors propped open, and you could just walk in their rooms, and there was toys everywhere, and you just make deals. And I found,
Wow.
yeah. So my rule is every time I go to a Toylanta, I have to leave with at least one vintage toy, and I usually look for either GoBots or Rock Lords. So I actually found one of each, and I was able to get a Rock Lord and a GoBot from
Ooh.
from these room swaps there. But the big thing that I got that I was really excited was, and I didn't get it at Toylanta. I was supposed to get it at Toylanta, but I could never meet up with the guy. I actually bought this from the owner of the new owner of Toylanta, and he brought this for me, but he was busy putting out fires all weekend left and right. He couldn't make it out to hand me the figure. So I did see him the week after, and I was finally able to get my giant Transformers arc figure that I've been trying to find.
Wow. That thing's massive.
Yeah, dude, it's huge. So, I mean, that's just like a handful of the stuff. Like I picked up a couple of other Marvel Legends, but stuff that you've already seen. The probably the most unique things that I picked up are what I showed you.
Right. And I
So,
appreciate that. That's what I want to see more than the other stuff, like you said, because most of that stuff comes in daily over here. Well,
yeah,
except for the Marvel figures. I don't know what happened with them.
one of
I'm
these
having an
days.
issue with Hasbro Pulse right now, and it almost made me not pre order the Joes because I don't know why my orders are not here. I'm seeing people like you and everybody else has got these figures, and I'm like, what the hell, man?
Hmm.
But, what can you do?
We're talking about space, and I these four horsemen figures. This is why I kind of jokingly said, "Let me know what you feel and think when you get the figure in hand and you mess around with it." Was I bought one or two. I didn't know anything about like the Mythic Legion's lore or the story, because it does have its own storyline. It's just kind of contained with the figures. Um, but I bought one, and I bought it because the character looked like a Greek hoplite warrior. And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
this is
what?
cool. A Greek hoplite, like a Greek soldier."
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
was like, what the hell? You saying words I don't understand, man.
No, it's sorry, the historian brain. No, hoplite, it's just a Greek soldier from ancient
Okay.
Greece. And I thought it was really cool. And again, the figures are great. And then I was like, well, this guy's cool. Maybe I'll take a look at this one. So I bought another one. Now I've got like 30 of them, and you can't tell because they're all in a tub in this in this closet because I don't have the space for them.
Right.
But I don't
Yeah.
want to not have them because again, Four Horsemen's such a small company still. They don't make these things continuously. So there's a lot
Right.
of figures in that bin that you just can't find anymore.
And I completely understand about boxes and bins. I've got boxes and bins right around me that I've had to put up until I get more shelf space because I just don't have a spot for them. So
Hmm.
I've been going on live a few times and just backing stuff up and storing it away. But we are in works to get stuff done. So hopefully more to come on that later.
Yeah, I
But
need to do something around here. I need more shelf space. You get like you don't even see the stuff I have on the wall over here. So
so overall, just give me one quick little last rundown, goods and bads of the adventures at Toylanta.
honestly, I really can't think of anything bad. If I had to critique anything, and this isn't a complaint by any means, is there were a couple of hotels that were close to the convention center, but really weren't in a very close proximity of one another. Like it would be like a 5 to 10 minute walk from one hotel to another. And that's where all the after hour stuff was going on. And I think there was a little bit of confusion of what was going on at which hotel, but then also I don't think it was very like I don't think it was too easy to get from hotel to hotel after dark, if that makes sense. So I don't know if the after hour stuff can be more contained in maybe one hotel or maybe two of the closer hotels or maybe part of the convention center and one of the hotels. Like I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what that answer is. And I'm not the person who books it, and mad respect to the person who does book it because they have way more patience than I do.
Well, yeah,
So
and a lot of that stuff because I've been to different things like that, and I've been to one where we were all right here, and then we had to go way down here, 4, 5, 6 blocks sometimes. But it all depends on what they're wanting to pay for that space, or that might be the only space available because
you're
everybody's already took it up.
Yeah, you're right. And like I said, there were like four other things going on in that convention center that weekend. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um but yeah, no, it was a fun weekend. I can't wait for next year. I do know that the next show from Toylanta is going to be the Joe Lanta at the end of September. And it's essentially Toylanta but not as big. Still big. So we'll see. I'm probably going to go to that one. I was really trying to make it out to Joe Fest in Augusta this summer, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it, which is fine. Probably for the best because yeah, just like you can't collect everything, you can't get to every show.
Right.
So
And see, we had I think it was last year, we had a little Joe Fest thing over here at one of the places. And I went to it. It was pretty cool. That's where I actually saw the first hint of the Valorverse vehicle that just came out. I can't remember the name of it. Uh but that looked awesome. I
yeah,
saw the new Skullbuster figure, something like that. And
yeah,
I was actually gonna go actually pick some of those up, but then I forgot, never went back, right?
mhm,
But while I was in there, Ron Rudat was there.
yeah,
And I met Ron Rudat and I went over there and we're in the whole Joe Fest thing going on. So it's mostly Joe stuff, but there is other stuff.
hmm
And I kind of caught him where there wasn't too many people around, and I was like, hey, enough of this. Let me see the good stuff. And he knew what I was talking about. He
yeah,
he knew I wanted the prints that he drew from the Hasbro wrestlers back in the day.
yeah.
So he actually had some with him, and he brought one out, and I got one, and he signed it and everything, which
That's
was really
cool.
cool. But
That's cool.
yeah, I was like, man, bring out the good stuff, man. Let me see the wrestling, goddamn.
That's cool.
But he's a great dude, man. He's a badass artist and a good dude. So we got
Yeah.
about 5 more minutes, man. I'm gonna give you the floor and you speak on it.
Oh man. Pressure. I don't know. Yeah. Well, I'm just kind of thinking of some of the other toy shows that we have coming up in this area. So I live about 30 minutes north of Atlanta. Toylanta is always the big one. Joe Fest. It's about a 3 hour drive because it's in Augusta. I always joke that I need to go visit James Brown whenever I go, and I never get to because I'm always there for the show. But when you're in downtown Augusta, there's tons of these really awesome James Brown murals painted on the side of the buildings. Um, and I think the one after that is gonna
Come
be
here.
oh, where's the puppy dog?
Come here, man. Here she comes. Go ahead, Bo. Sorry
Hey, puppy
about
dog. No, you're good. This is a pet friendly show over here. I'm
that.
surprised you haven't heard my cats on the other side of the door. So, um, and then I think I might be going to a small 1 day show out in Alabama. I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
And then there'll be Joe Fest or Joe Lanta in September, and in November it's always the weekend before Thanksgiving. The guy who runs Toy Federation always puts on the Retro Toy Con, and I actually met TNT last year at that show. So we were hanging out doing toy hunting, and I actually caused him to make some bad decisions that
Yeah,
day.
when he had trouble with the parking.
Man, let me tell you, like we walked in, we shook hands, I gave him a big hug because we were finally meeting in person, and he turns to me and he goes, "I'm gonna make you spend more money than me today." And I said, "You can try." And he did not. He spent way more money than I
I,
did. You know how much I spent that day? I spent $30 that day.
wow, you got more self control than I do, so I would not
And
take
yeah,
that bet.
buddy, I'm stingy and cheap. Like that's whenever it comes to buying stuff secondhand, if it's not at least retail or within $5 to $10 of retail, I ain't buying it. Like I'm not gonna spend $50 on a twenty
Well,
five
no,
dollar
now
figure.
I get you there. I'm that way when it comes to that, but I can usually get them to where I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But TNT, like he came ready to spend money, and boy did he. He did.
The art of respectful persuasion. You know
Man,
what I'm saying?
man, and he was like, even when we weren't filming, he was coming up behind me. He was like nudging me with his elbow. He's like, "Hey man, you want to buy that?" I'm like, "I don't know. You want to buy it for me?"
Hey, but that's good that you could do that because I know sometimes, if it's not a great selection or something, or the prices are too much, I can be a little picky.
Hmm.
But other stuff, if it's something I've been looking for and it's close to in the price range where I know it should be, and I say this, I don't want to get on a soapbox, but I understand you got to pay to get into those things. You got to pay to set up. So I'm okay with you adding a little $5, $10 stuff like
Yeah,
that. But when
yeah,
you're going off a price that eBay says that no one has ever even bought it for that price, don't come to me with that
yeah.
shit. You know what
No,
I'm
I'm
saying?
100%. I'm 100% with you. Like I said, I'm stingy and I'm cheap. But I think kind of to we'll spending the whole hour like talking about toys and whatnot, but really, I've been very fortunate to live where I live and have all these shows accessible to me. But I think the most important thing out of the entire thing, and this is gonna sound cheesy, and I don't mean it to, but it's true, is I've met so many cool people. I've met so many cool friends, whether it's in person. Hey puppy dog. Come here, let me give you a
Get
little
down.
there you go. Um I've met so many cool people through
Good.
through just the toy collecting community, and a lot of people who are like really supportive of other people in the hobby and who are genuinely trying to help out other people in the hobbies. And that's also extended to social media. I hopped on TikTok not thinking I was going to talk about toys, and then I did, and that's where we met, and then that's where I met 80s and TNT and Fat Rob and you know Prime Dynamics and Cybertronian Quest and all of our other toy hunting friends and toy collecting
Right.
friends. And so it's I don't know, I feel that, like, yeah, the toys are cool, but I think like the connections and the friendships you kind of make along the way, as cheesy as that sounds, I think it's
No, it's not
uh,
cheesy at all, man. And
so.
just to touch on that real quick, I know we're about to run over a minute, but I say this before and I've said it again. I had a lot of people to talk to about my toys. My family's always been into wrestling and collecting and
Mhm.
comic books and this and that, and even friends that did that. So I never knew that so many people didn't have somebody to talk to and have an outlet to be able to display and say, hey, or were maybe even afraid to say, hey, I collect this, I'm into this. You know, I've never been worried about that. Usually when I tell people that, they're like, you're into that? I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you just don't look like the type. What is a type?
Right.
I never understood it.
Right.
What is a type? Why do you have to look like a type to like toys?
Exactly.
What I
Exactly.
mean? Or action figures. Some people got to specify that. I
Nah,
don't get it.
dude, they're toys. To me, they're toys. They're plastic. We go to the toy aisle to buy them. I have a lot of like hard opinions whenever people are like, they're not toys, they're collectibles. I'm like, yeah, but you're collecting toys. So
Exactly. At least almost every show, I'll get somebody to come in. and aren't you too grown for that or this and that. Well, let me tell you something. I'm a grown ass man that plays with toys.
Yeah,
That's all I can tell you.
not only that, but like we're grown ass men. Like we can justify that. Like it's my money. I get to do whatever I want with it. Like I work for it. Like what does it matter to
Exactly. If I
you?
want to go out there and light it on fire, I can. So I might as well
Exactly.
spend it on this plastic right here. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Exactly. Just the fact that I am that my age means I can do whatever I want with it. So why not?
But man, Jordan, man, we could do this all night, man. Anytime we get on here, we have a great time, man. I appreciate you taking time out of your
Yeah,
day,
man.
your night.
Thanks for reaching out and having me on, man. I always enjoyed chatting with you.
Always, man. Because like I said, for one, I've seen your videos. I wanted to talk to you more about the time and experience you had. So,
Mm.
what better way to do this than do it in front of other people? You know what I'm
Let's do
saying?
it, man. I'm always open. I'm always down. So you know what? You got my number, man. Just shout out and text and or call or whatever.
Yes, sir. And actually, I don't know if you're busy, but this Friday we're doing pick up with pals live, and you come in, jump in a box, and show people what you've picked up and stuff like that. So,
All right. Yeah, if I'm around, I'll check in and holla.
all right, man, go ahead and say what you got to say, and I'm gonna close this out.
All right. Well, if you've been watching this far, again, you can find me on all social medias as Jordan Ghastly. That is Instagram, that's TikTok, that's YouTube, that's Threads, other social medias as well. So if you can, I'm actually one subscriber shy of 1,200 subscribers on
Well,
YouTube
I
as
know
of
there's
right now.
people in here. Somebody go subscribe to him so we can accomplish that right
So
now.
I
Thank
was
you,
sitting at
guys.
11.99 as of an hour ago. So hopefully I can
Wow,
get one more to get up to 1,200. So, but
nice.
yeah, that's where you can find me, and that's you can find me there and TikTok primarily. But either way, you're getting toys or nonsense or sometimes both. So
Well, man, once again, thank you for your time, man. Keep collecting, keep doing what you do. We the ones, and I may be leaving, but I'm still that uncultured heathen.
take
Later, man.
it easy.